Hi. Hi. Hey. I'm going to show you how do you edit. I'm going to edit my entire book one more time and do the spell check on it myself. It may have done some auto spell check, but I'm going to check it one more time. I'm going to read through my entire book. If the video goes on too long, I'll stop the video. But I'm going to try to read through my entire book, How to Be a Filmmaker, so you'll also learn how to be a filmmaker. And this is something I like to do if I have energy and I don't feel like sitting too long because I've already been on the computer a little. I'll work out a little bit. So I don't like constantly sit down in front of a computer when I'm writing. So I'm gonna do some chin-ups. I'm gonna do some chin-ups before I write, and then I'm just gonna write and show you how to edit a book and how to be a filmmaker if you're reading along with it while I read the book. Okay, that's it. That's all. I don't want to hurt myself. I already worked out. I'm just going to sit down and write the book. Hi, this is John Birmingham, and this is going to be me editing, doing the final edit on my book, How to Be a Filmmaker. So I'm probably not going to show myself. I'm going to move myself to the side. Hi. Yeah. Oh no. Hey, what am I doing here? I'm trapped in a little box. I ended up in hell. No, I'm trapped in a little box. No, I'm in hell because I didn't follow God and Jesus. Help me. No, that's that's not going to happen to me probably. You have a good feeling you know you're going to make it to heaven, I think, with people who are going to make it in heaven. Some people don't know, but generally you get a good feeling that you know you're going to go to heaven. I think I'm going to make it to heaven, and it's not easy. I've sinned pretty bad before. I'm still a sinner, so I try to not sin anymore now that I know about God and Jesus in the Bible. I talk about it in this book too. Before we become a filmmaker, there's like a chapter that talks about God and Jesus in my book, How to Be a Filmmaker. So I'm going to read the book. Okay, I'm getting the screen set up. I might be able to fit my face in the side of the screen. Yeah, I can probably fit my face in the side of the screen somewhere. So I'm going to read the book. I'm going to read through the whole thing. I'm going to make my face smaller. So I'm going to read through the book. I don't know what I'm going to look like in it, but I'm making my face small because I'm actually going to be sitting here drinking coffee writing. I might put a different shirt on too. This is my book. It's done, How to Be a Filmmaker, but I'm going to go through and edit it one more time. I'm going to read through my book, How to Be a Filmmaker. This is going to be the final edit on my book, How to Be a Filmmaker. I have coffee I'm going to drink probably. And it's in the Pages app or software. It's called Pages. That's how you write a book on a Mac. This program called Pages. It may be free. It may come with all Macs. I'm not sure. I think it is. And for a PC, they have a different one. I forgot what the PC one was called. But I'm using Pages. That's how you write a book in Mac. And you put your picture, I guess your title page or your cover page, the cover page of the book there. And then I'm going to read through it. I got to use the bathroom. I got to take a I have this song going through my mind. Well, this is going to be reading through my book, and it's going to edit it, and you'll learn how to be a filmmaker if you want to see what it says. Some song that's going through my head. I think I made it up. I could compose it, but I'm gonna write this. I'm gonna edit this entire book so I can finally get it printed up and make it for sale. This is the final edit on the book. It's about 268 pages long or something like that. And this says 268, but okay, let's just read. Whoops, where'd it go? Oh, I'm filming it. Okay, so this is it. How to Be a Filmmaker by John Birmingham. I designed this in Photoshop. You can use an image. You get it just the right size to fill up this size. I think it's 8.5 by 11 or 8. I don't know. It's some inches that you get the pages just right. You go to File and Pages. You open up Pages in a Mac. It's a program. You just go to New. Choose like what kind of thing you want to do. A book, contemporary novel. This may be a contemporary novel. You choose how big you want it to be and stuff like that. And it gives you like a standard picture right here. That was some other book thing, and I took it away and I made one in Photoshop and put it back, or replaced it with this, How to Be a Filmmaker. And then you just start writing. And I wrote the book, or you create an outline or something like that. Okay, How to Be a Filmmaker by John Birmingham. This is going to be the final edit. I've already edited it a little bit. I genuinely believe that this is the best, easy to understand book you can read to be able to go out there and be a filmmaker. You can get started as soon as you are done reading this book. In this book, you will learn everything you want to know about how to take your idea for a movie and write it properly formatted as a professional quality original screenplay, and then get it produced as a real movie with you as the filmmaker. You will learn, as I was thinking about if a comma goes here, professional quality original screenplay. This may have a comma right there. Or is a professional quality, comma, original screenplay. I'm not really, I think that one doesn't matter. It's debatable depending on how you, the original screenplay. I think it doesn't matter that much. I'm going to leave it like it is. You will learn professional quality original screenplay, because professional quality is one thing, original is the second thing. So there's kind of like a comma, and it's describing the screenplay. I'll just leave it like that because it's not three things describing it. So I'm just going to do that. You will learn as much as filmmaker John Birmingham can teach you in the one easy to understand book, How to Be a Filmmaker. And this is the book. John Birmingham has more than 20 years experience producing his own feature films and award-winning short films. His movies have been in Walmart, Borders Books, Barnes & Noble, most stores that sell movies online. This is about me. John has either played the lead in or directed films with Ed Asner, Pauly Shore, and dozens of other celebrities on his own productions and productions of friends and colleagues. He has a resume in film that is 100 times your average Los Angeles actor or filmmaker. And talking in the first person now because I'm the one writing this book, haha. I chose to write the book in a more fun way rather than... I think I am the best person to really teach others how to be a filmmaker in a how-to book, because I am from a family of teachers that dates back to my great-grandparents. I always had a natural ability for teaching, literally was good at explaining and easily helping others to understand knowledge that I had on any particular subject. I capitalized how to, I don't know why. I guess that's, I don't know. I think that's more accurate, a how-to book. And I did the best I was able to realistically do my best work to teach you how to be a filmmaker in this book. You'll be able to go out there and start filming your own productions from just reading this book that shows you knowledge I gained as a filmmaker for more than 30 years, considering when I started filming narrative skits in costume on my parents' video camera in 1987. So wow, that is a long time filming that you're going to be learning the best about what I know. I was in the center of the movie making industry, Los Angeles, for 8 years, and many years after that was an independent filmmaker of my own productions in Virginia that include 3 original feature films I wrote. Mostly in Virginia. Well, I can say for 8 years, and mostly in Virginia many years after that. Okay, I was in the center of the movie. I need to press Command S or Apple S, save. I was in the center of the movie and making industry in Los Angeles for more than 7 years, and mostly in Virginia. Many years after that, where I was an independent. Years after that, was an independent filmmaker of my own productions. After that, I was an independent filmmaker of my own productions that includes three original feature films I wrote, directed, produced, and more than 40 original music videos for my original songs, award-winning short films, and more than 1,000 videos online that have gotten more than 100 million views. I will show you how to, if you're determined enough and work hard at it enough, and God wants you to do way more than I did. You likely will be a filmmaker almost as soon as you start reading this book. It's really up to God. It's really up to God if it is for you or not. But I know it is possible if it is something God wants for you and you want to do as a career. Or hobby. I guess it could be a hobby. Some people might want to do it as a hobby. And for sure, by the time you are done reading this book, you will be able to go out there and be a filmmaker within days on your first film. You can keep this book nearby for reference or to read again as you get to be a better filmmaker. It lists every this book. Yeah, somebody took a crap or something. A cat? I guess it's a cat. I don't know. This book lists every standard job on a movie set and describes what each person does in detail, so you really know the difference between a cinematographer and director and producer, for example, or the difference between a production assistant and camera assistant, or set designer and production designer. I make it easy to understand. And again, as soon as you start reading this book, many of you may already realize that you are a filmmaker, that you already are a filmmaker. I was making videos here and there throughout childhood. I didn't work on it that much. Oh, wait. I was producing and directing I was writing, directing, and producing videos here and there throughout childhood, though I did not know that is what it was called. I didn't work on videos or films that much, that relentlessly and continuously until I was 20 years old one day, and I had been in LA almost a year by myself, moved there to be a filmmaker. And it was not I don't know, okay. To be a filmmaker, and it was not getting where I wanted to be. So I was in my apartment above Al's Bar, a bar I had seen in the back of an old punk record where I I bought growing up, back of an old punk record I bought growing up, and I had noticed they had really cheap apartments for rent. I think back in 1998 it was only $305 a month. It didn't even have its own bathroom. I had to use the bathroom out in the hallway. And one time I saw a roach crawling and I went, it was pretty gross. I don't know if I should write that in here. I think back in 1998 it was only $305 a month. And I'd play the drums really loud. Well, I'll see what I wrote. The manager of the apartment building was a small woman who was in a kind of known punk band. What was that magazine? I don't know. I bought a little cheap some magazine that she did or something. I bought a little cheap 3-piece drum set and would play really loud, but I think I had a good snare. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. And it echoed throughout the building and into the streets. Everyone knew me as a guy who played drums, or a kid who played drums, because I was 20 years old. Well, not the kid. That'd be Steven Spielberg's person. He's trying to... The kid. You want to come back to my house? No, he doesn't do that. I think Steven Spielberg's not that kind of person, I think. But there was some creepy producer who did something like that. There's some creepy producer who got, like, Corey Haim or something. I don't know, one of those, like, really famous people. I didn't get that famous. The problem was I was only 20 years old and kind of kept to myself, had acquaintances, but felt kind of alone and no real lasting strong friendships or family there for another more than 2 years. I was above Al's bar, and when they had shows I was not allowed in. It was something I really would have enjoyed because I had grown up listening to bands play shows in my town and really thought I would like to be in a band professionally. But I was right there in LA and too young to hang out at Al's bar. The bouncer wouldn't let me in or whatever. I don't know if I should say that. I was able to hear the shows a lot on the weekends, but the bouncer would not let me in. But one day, the manager, the small lady who worked for a punk rock label, I was pretty small. I think I weighed like the most 140 something pounds. Or 150 something, or if I was really heavy, I'd weigh like 180, and that was like more fat on me than I have now. And I thought that was pretty fat, 180. One time I got to 180 or something. I was able to hear their shows a lot on the weekends, but the bouncer would not let me in. So one day, the manager, the small lady who worked for a punk rock label, she had a band. And she asked me to come jam with them when it was closed. They were in a kind of big band. I think she played bass. And it was really a lot of fun. There was spray paint all on the walls and looked like CBGB inside the place. And I got to jam with a band who I think was signed. But I still wasn't allowed in shows. So I worked on movies. It was when they were closed. So I worked on movies instead like I had planned. I worked as a production assistant on various movies and helped design a set on an AFI student film for copy credit and meals. They pay you in copy credit and meals usually on the movie sets. On movie sets when you get your start, but you may get to be paid starting out as a production assistant and for sure as an extra. I'll talk about that later. You can... If you really want to play music in a band, the you can film yourself playing music. I'll just leave that off. See, I think movie making is. See, I think movie making, or I think filmmaking is the ultimate art form, because say like you would like to be in a band, you can put on a big show and film at the show and use the footage you filmed, or use what you filmed in the movie, filmed in your own movie of you playing the music. Filmmakers may be directors. Other filmmakers may be directors alone, or only writers and producers of the movie. But, well, every filmmaker is different from one another as an artist or craftsman. Or an artist, or whatever work they specialize, they may specialize in on a movie set. I eventually filmed myself playing music and singing in my own movies, but the first few years I never really appeared in front of camera on my short films I did when living in Los Angeles or whatever. I was more looking to be a film director. So I had been in LA a year and done music and videos all growing up, and only did it like when I felt motivated to work on it. But one day in my apartment, I said to my at age 20, one day in my apartment, I said to myself, I really have to work hard at this for it to get somewhere. Because I'd been doing it for a while, and it wasn't, I'd been doing it about a year, and it hadn't, or 6 months or so in LA, and I was like, wow, it hasn't gotten much more than, you know, I thought by then I'd be some famous person or something. And so one day at my apartment, I said to myself, I really, really have to work hard at this for it to get somewhere. It has not gotten anywhere near where I had thought. So I started really working hard at it then, and did not stop for most of the next 23 years, besides to raise my children and be there for loved ones, and when I had to do other work. I gave it my all for most of the next 23 years. I really did my best and gave it my all for the next 23 years, but really what I was working at most was God's work. Okay, I'm gonna spell correct the thing that I just added here. You can put on, they pay you in copy and credit and meals, usually on movie sets when you get your start, but you may get to be paid starting out as a production assistant, and for sure as an extra. I'll talk about this later. See, I think filming is the ultimate art form. I think film making. See, I think filmmaking is the ultimate art form, because say like you would like to be in a band. You can put on a big show and film at the show. You can put on a big show and film at the show and use what you filmed in your own movie of you playing the video and audio of of you playing the music. Other filmmakers may be directors alone. Playing the music. Other filmmakers may be directors alone or only writers and producers of the movie. Every filmmaker is different from one another as an artist or whatever work they may specialize in on a movie set. I eventually filmed myself playing music and singing in my own movies, but the first few years I never really appeared in front of camera on my short films. I was a filmmaker on when living in Los Angeles. Filmmaker of living in Los Angeles. I was more working to be a film director. So I had been in LA a year and done music and videos all growing up, and only did it when I felt motivated to work on it. All until I was about 20 years old. But one day in my apartment, I don't know if I should say 20 years old, because there may be people, may be different for any of you, or you may have your own. You may be a filmmaker, work in a different way. This age may be different for any of you, for some of you, for any of you. I don't know. Some of you. I'll say some of you to stand up for Steven Spielberg, because I said something kind of mean to Steven Spielberg. Maybe he's nice. I have no idea. He might be, he made good films, I guess. I don't know. I don't know morally if they follow the Bible or not. I don't know if they follow the Bible or not. I have to look back and see. This age may be different for some of you, or you may work in a different way. One day in my apartment, I said to myself, one day in my apartment, I said to myself, I really, really have to work hard at this for it to get somewhere. It has not gotten anywhere near where I had thought. I was 20 years old. So I started working really hard at it, and then did not stop for most of the next 23 years, besides to raise my children and be there for loved ones, or when I had to do other work. I really did my best and gave it my all for most, for when I had to do other work. And that's God. That was God's work too, when I had to, for some reason. I don't know why. But I think I'm not supposed to anymore. I think maybe soon I won't have to do the other stuff, because I already had to do it 14 years or more. So, or more, including other random jobs that I had. But I really did my best. And in this one, I did, for 23 years since I was 20, and as a child I did. So I really did my best and gave it my all for most of the gave filmmaking I really did my best and gave filmmaking my all for most of the next 23 years. And of course, raising my children was more important. But really what I was working at most was God's work. You know, I did rest here and there, but I was really determined and really hardworking and really motivated to work at my movies, but without knowing it, I was being kind to others before I had really found God, and Jesus was doing God's work on faith alone. Faith alone. And I guess that's why my resume is so huge and has A-list celebrities. bragging about some stupid thing after I shouldn't have said it. Bragging about some stupid thing. And I got a famous person on my show. And like some, you know, I'm not an A-lister, but I said I got some A-lister on my show. Pauly Shore, is he really an A-lister? Come on, I don't know. In the 90s for a while he was, and now he's not. But he got all his parents' money from his comedy store. They ran a comedy store and it happened to go big. Happened to get all the famous people and they made a bunch of money at that or something. So they helped him. Like he was there and he got to be a famous person. Okay, and I have to take this off. I guess they're, you know, I'm not famous I'm not famous like an A-list celebrity or favorite millionaire net worth singer or mega millionaire rock star, but I got some amount of success in entertainment and have worked with bigger celebrities on my films. But you may not have to work as determined as I was. For that long and may get better results sooner. Every filmmaker is different. You do not have to start as early as I did either to be a filmmaker. You can start at any age, and I have watched people get started and go big with it in only a year or two. I know one person who was only a musician and had a regular job and decided to be a filmmaker. Within 2 years, he was producing his own indie films with budgets up to $200,000 each movie. Many movies, some $10,000 budgets or $20,000 budget films on the Red camera, a popular higher-end movie camera that started shooting in 8K video as early as the 2000s. I think that's what he was doing. He was on MySpace. Filmed professionally on various budgets, all very professional films. He produced at least 5 decent budget films in his first, I'd say, 2 or 3 years of being a filmmaker. And he, I don't know. I know his name, but I'm not going to say it. What is a filmmaker I've shown to you in this book? Well, I will cover, he was like a horror movie. He played horror rock, and then he started to make horror movies, and it got really big. But his horror rock stuff wasn't as big. He was better as a filmmaker. He didn't know it, and then he started doing films, and it got really big. What is a filmmaker has shown to you in this book? Introduction. What is a filmmaker has shown to you in this book? Well, I'll mostly cover narrative filmmaking. Narrative filmmaking is fictional storytelling that is written down as a story, then physically created and filmed with a camera, put on screen to play for then put on screen to play for an then played on a then played on a screen to then put on a screen to play for an audience. I'll just leave it like I said it. Oops. Yeah. What is a filmmaker shown to you in this book? Well, I mostly cover narrative filmmaking. Narrative filmmaking is fictional storytelling that is written down as a story, then physically created and filmed with a camera, then put on screen to play for an audience. It is most of the major movies you have seen in theaters, besides documentaries or some experimental films, which I'll also briefly talk about in this book. The book that are also considered films. With documentaries, the funding may be a lot smaller, they may, but with documentaries, the funding may be a lot similar, and other aspects of production a lot similar to narrative filmmaking, like the camera work, but is often filmed lower production value than a regular movie and without a script. So I would say more often than not, documentaries are lower budget than narrative films. Production value is generally all the stuff that goes into producing the film that makes the film look like it is a higher budget film. Generally. Okay. And experimental is generally the same as the avant-garde genre, which generally means more artsy films that do not follow standard Hollywood classic I said classic. Classic or classical? I said classic. I'm going to look up if it's classic or classical. Is it classic or classical? Classical. I think it's classic Hollywood screenwriting. I must have checked on that. This is classical Hollywood narrative structure. Classical Hollywood cinema. Looks like it's classical. 3-act structure. I know 3-act structure. I talk about that. I couldn't recall if it was classical or classic. This is classic story structure.
Eh. Classic Hollywood cinema. I'm gonna have to look it up in a book. This is from film school. Is it classical or classic Hollywood screenwriting? Classical Hollywood or classic Hollywood screenwriting style, like the style of screenwriting. I'm gonna look it up in the book. I put my book away. I'm so strong, a strong leg. Sorry. That's somebody who's watching me talks that way probably. Or I thought in my head. But actually, the more educated people who don't care about that stuff maybe, or I don't know. Classical Hollywood screenwriting or classic Hollywood screenwriting structure. I think it's classical. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's classical. Oh, it's on Wikipedia. Some of Wikipedia is good. I don't know. Wikipedia. Wicked. I don't know what I'm saying. It's not wicked. It's a wick. It's a wick. It's a candle wick, like in a church. In a church, they have candles sometimes. I don't know. Wikipedia. I don't know. The guy who owns Wikipedia only has a little bit more than $1 million net worth. That's not that much. He could spend that in a few years. He doesn't have billions of dollars. He didn't take billions of dollars from it. He lives like somewhere on the East Coast in a regular house. He just barely says he has $800,000 or something, and instead of having billions of dollars, I don't know why he could change the way Wikipedia is and get billions of dollars. I don't know why he's doing that. And he had made a smaller company called Wiki Books or something, and he made like $1.2 million on it or something. And that money could go quick. Like, I don't see why he's not taking the billions of dollars. Like, people can spend like $80,000 a year and it'd be gone, after taxes or whatever. He wouldn't have them. I don't know. But maybe he's okay. I don't know. Classical Hollywood narration and its limits. I'm figuring out if it's classical or classic. I think it's classical. The classical Hollywood. Yeah, classical. According to this, let's see what writing and teaching of Ian Bryce Jones. This is by Kelly Moo. I wonder what intermittentmechanismblog.com. The 3-act structure has its roots I'm checking if the word is classical or classic. I don't want to take years to write this book. I want to write it and just put it out there and help people that already wrote it. Classical. These are, I don't know. Classical Hollywood screenwriting. Hey. Wouldn't be anything funny about it. You can do it your own way. You can work in the movie industry in LA or wherever. You don't have to be some weirdo. I think it's classical Hollywood writing. Classical Hollywood writing. This is classical. I'm pretty sure it's classical. It's not a classic movie. It's classic Hollywood. Classic Hollywood writing style. It's a way of screenwriting that follows a particular narrative structure. It has a first act, a second act, and a third act. You introduce the protagonist. I talk about it all in here. I didn't know if it was called classic or classical. I'm pretty sure it's classical. Hollywood classical screen. I don't know. Classical sounds like classical music. I'm pretty sure it was classic the way I learned it. Not follow standard Hollywood classic screenwriting structure. Yeah, it's classic. That's what I remember they taught me. Which I'll explain in this book. That's from the schools I went to or something. Okay. Mostly what this book is about is standard narrative movies like we all grew up watching in the movie theater. I'm going to make a note of that. I'm going to make a note of that somewhere. I'll put it at the very... Oh, no, I don't want to do this. Classic or classical. Hollywood classic narrative screenwriting structure. Classic is like classic car. I don't know. Classic screenwriting structure. I think that classical music. Classical is like classical music. What's the screenwriting structure called? Classic or classical? I'm going to try classical and see if that's it. I'm just figuring out if it's classic or classical. Hollywood classical screenwriting, 3 acts. Sid Field. Looking for it doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end. It has 3 acts. It's a little different from the beginning, middle, and end. But I want to see what Sid Field called it. I put my screenwriting books away. What did he call it? I know he's one of the screenwriting guys. I think he called it classic. You know, and why am I quoting the guy who wrote the screenwriting book? Because who came up with that word originally? Classic or classical? He was the most famous screenwriting writer, but he didn't produce a lot of his own films or be director or writer of that many produced productions. He may have written a bunch of screenplays and written books on it. He wrote a lot of books on it. Sid Field, he's the most famous screenwriting book writer. Where? That was so cool on Google when it would highlight the words that you'd look up, and it would show and highlighted the words. And why did they get rid of that? I guess it was too hard to keep up after all the sources or something, or I don't know. They should keep that. I mean, if it wasn't, then they could do it again. They could highlight, like show stuff highlighted in yellow or whatever, and then you click on it to look for Hollywood screenwriting, and you find it highlighted in the article. They used to do that. I don't know why they wouldn't do it. I'm pretty sure it's classic. I think I got it right. That was my instinct. Classic Hollywood screenwriting. Okay, so I'd say more often than not, documentaries are lower budget than narrative films. Production value is generally all of the stuff that goes into producing the film that makes the film look like it is a higher budget film. I guess that could be higher budget or higher budgeted. I'm just going to leave it a higher budget film. And experimental is generally the same as the avant-garde. Well, God is the best. And experimental is generally the same as the avant-garde genre, which generally means more artsy films that do not follow standard classic Hollywood screenwriting structure. Okay, and experimental is generally the same as the avant-garde genre, which generally talking this way. Which generally means more artsy films that do not follow the standard classic Hollywood screenwriting structure that I will explain in this book. So avant-garde is more experimental. It's like an experimental film. It's like you can use all the different art forms like music or sound. You can have a blank screen and just hear the sound of wind or something like that. Like, so you're hearing the sound of wind or some cool sound that you recorded, and you can have the sound of a song, or you can hear no sound but some kind of background noise or sound, or no sound, and show a work of art. Like you're in a museum looking at a work of art. So I think filmmaking, that's why I think filmmaking is better than any other artistic medium for me personally, but not for others. Because some prefer to put all the effort into the music, and then they do like really good music, and then they kind of get other people to film it and stuff. But I wanted to do all of it. I wanted to be like the best artist on Earth or something. I thought I'd be, because I had something to prove. I thought I didn't look as good as I thought, or as like, people made fun of me. I'm gonna try to be the best or something like that. So, what does it smell? Some animal took a fucking shit. And it smells, and I have a feeling somebody's watching it who likes shit. He's John joking about shit when you pretend it's shit that he's doing, because they have to go to their job every day. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is that crazy? I think that makes no sense. I'm trying to rationalize why it would smell like crap. When I was planning to film this video, I kept getting the thought it's doo-doo from some person who says that kind of thing all the time. So because I'm doing this, like as a way to edit the book and be filming it at the same time so it doesn't feel that bad because I didn't feel like really doing it, that person wants to say it's doo-doo, so it smelled like a doo-doo that sound like the way that he thinks the word doo-doo smells. That smells like it's like the way he thinks doo-doo smells, like from like a dog or something. But maybe in reality it's because a dog took a crap, and I think it's going away. It smelled pretty strong for a while, and then it went away. It came back here and there. Hopefully it'll go away again. But I'm trying to rationalize, why did the anxiety thoughts, what does that have to do with it when someone was watching my video who says doo-doo a bunch? Like, he focuses on that, and why when I was talking to him I get the smell of it. Like, he's that much into doo-doo more than like anyone for 1,000 miles, that he has the power to he has the power to like make the smell of doo-doo by talking to you on the phone or sending a text message. It smells like doo-doo. Like, he is that much into doo-doo that when it's terrible. I think that's not true. I don't know. I think maybe I had too much coffee, and I've been awake since 3 a.m., which generally doesn't affect me anymore. It used to give me anxiety, but in my early 40s, I stopped getting as much anxiety, but I did get a little anxiety there about doo-doo. Well, who the fuck would ever say that? Why? Just don't say it and don't think about it. Okay. Not that important. Okay, I'm not worried about it that much. Okay. So I would say more often than not, documentaries are lower budget than narrative films. You know, a narrative big blockbuster movie that costs $400 million or $100 million or $80 million or $10 million, you know, that's generally a higher budget than a documentary. Production value is generally all of the stuff that goes into producing the film that makes the film look like it is higher budget. That's production value. See, that's why sometimes, like, in a film, they'll take this coffee and they'll spill it on their shirt, and the shirt is ruined, has a stain on it, unless you wash it off really fast. And as that part of the budget, you know, for the budget of the film, they might have 3 shirts like this, the same one. And is this filming my shirt? Yeah, it is, kind of. So they might have like someone with 3 of these shirts. You have a backup for the lead actors, because if anything happens to it, it'll mess up continuity if he changed his shirt or she changed her shirt. So you have various shirts, and as production value, you might ruin one of them by somebody throws like red wine on it and messes up the shirt or something. But I think that was an accident that happened one time. Somebody didn't like filming. It was going on way too into the night, and they threw red wine all over somebody. I can't recall who it was. It was either me or somebody else, and they threw red wine all over them. I don't know what it was for, because the person was tired of being like looked down on and suffering as an actress, and she finally got to be in a thing where she was a star, but it was a student film. It was an okay student film. She threw wine everywhere. I don't get that, but that was an accident. But I'm saying, like, in some films, for production value, like on a movie, the special effects, the explosions, different stuff like that costs money that you see in front of a camera, that's the production value that makes it look like the film is worth more money. You can do it for free sometimes. Sometimes you can make production value more for free, but generally it costs more money, and that's why narrative films are more expensive usually than documentaries. I'm not going to even say that, because some documentaries up until this point, they're generally less expensive. They don't have a $400 million documentary. That's not a documentary. That's creating everything in a narrative way to follow a story that they created. That's not filming things how they are. You know, if someone goes on tour with the biggest band or one of the biggest bands, who puts on the biggest shows for 80,000 people and goes on tour and films it all, that's not going to be that expensive. That's not going to be that expensive to film. It might cost like a few $100,000 or 80,000 or 40,000 or 8,000, you know, to film one of those shows or something, or all those shows for a huge band. You can do it for almost free for a documentary. Anyway, I don't want to debate that too much. That's why I said generally a narrative film, like, you know, some huge blockbuster movie is going to be more expensive than a documentary. But this is for indie films, and I'm talking about indies here. That's why I didn't mention big blockbusters or the other expensive stuff. So, and experimental is generally the same as the avant-garde genre. I haven't drank any alcohol. This is caffeine. Which generally means more artsy films that do not follow the standard classic Hollywood screenwriting structure that I'll explain in this book. Classic Hollywood screenwriting structure is like all the movies that you've seen. Generally, most of them, they have a story. They have a good guy as a protagonist, or a female or someone who's a protagonist. Generally, a man in the classic Hollywood screenwriting, but it can be a little bit different. And some problem happens, they have to go through the problem and figure out how they're going to solve it. And at the end of the third act, it gets even more difficult, and then they finally solve the problem, and everything's okay, and they save the day or whatever. That's a classic Hollywood screenwriting structure. But experimental films are called kind of avant-garde. Those are a little different, and those can have all kinds of different, you know, that can be like any way that you think, that someone thinks up. Which generally, I didn't do that in my films. I had it follow the classic Hollywood screenwriting structure, narrative screenwriting structure, the classic Hollywood narrative structure. That's how all my feature films were. They weren't experimental, but some of my films were experimental. I did all kinds of different films. But so most of what this book is about is standard narrative movies, like we all grew up watching in the movie theater and on television and at home on video. Documentaries and those really, really different artsy films that do not follow any real structure, and there may be other genres of films that are not created starting with a story idea for a movie and then written on paper, complete with scene headings, action, and dialogue the characters say. Those are other types of films. Those are other kinds of films that are not narrative films, are not as much what we'll be talking about. But those kinds of filmmakers, this is a big run-on thing. I don't know, maybe this will take longer than I thought. I don't know. Documentaries and those really, really different artsy films that do not follow any real structure, and there may be other genres of films like these that are not created Created starting with a story idea for a movie and then written on paper, complete with the scene headings, action, dialogue, characters say. These other kinds of films that are not narrative films are not as much what we'll be talking about in this book. Those kinds of filmmakers can still, however, those kinds of filmmakers can still benefit from this book. Again, we'll mostly cover real storytelling on screen, real narrative filmmaking, cover storytelling on screen. Real narrative filmmaking is written in a regular movie script called a screenplay for a narrative feature film. But aspiring documentarians can benefit from this book as well as anyone getting into film and video production. In other words, aspiring documentaries can benefit from this book as well. Aspiring documentarians can benefit from this book as well, and anyone getting into film and video production. In other words, this is How to Be a Filmmaker, teaching you the most important of everything I know about it, including some teaching you about how to get started in any kind of filmmaking you want to do. Including some teaching you how to get started in any kind of filmmaking you want to do. But most we'll talk about the standard movies we know. Standard movies we know as movies, like the ones we grew up watching that tell a story. Tell a story on screen and have actors playing out the story. These movies think of as regular movies. These movies we generally think of as regular movies are also called visual. It's also called visual storytelling. What is it? It's also called visual storytelling. Or simply put, telling a story that is shown to us by watching it on a screen instead of reading it in a novel as a fiction book. That's what visual storytelling is. It shows it on a screen. It shows it on a screen instead of reading it in a book. It's like reading a story in a book, but it shows it to you on a screen. So it's called visual storytelling. But it's the same general idea as a fictional book, only it's the same general idea as a fictional book, only it is a fictional story that was written in proper screenplay format. How movies are written, a standard way. It's the same general idea as a fictional book, only it is a fictional story that was written in proper screenplay format. How movies are written in a standard way, they're pretty much written for nearly 100 years that I'll show you in this book. And then physically produced, physically made into a reality, everything that was written in the script to be shown on a screen for an audience to see. Visual storytelling. Visual storytelling. Visual storytelling. Visual storytelling. And that is what the filmmaker does, is create a film for an audience to watch on a screen. And again, we're mostly talking about narrative filmmaking. Visual storytelling and are not talking as much about the other genres of films like documentaries or anything besides a narrative screenplay. However, you can learn really well from this book how to go out there and produce any kind of film you like, want to, however, you can learn really well from this book how to go out there and produce any kind of film you want, any kind of film you like, want to, are hired to, or are doing out of kindness for someone. Any kind of film you like, any films that you enjoy, you want to produce a film like it, are hired to do it, or are doing out of kindness for someone. Real filmmaking. And you will get to be the filmmaker if you... I don't want to think about the specifics of doing it like the old days of going to college and learning how to write really well from English classes and stuff. Or high school, learning how to write really well in an English class. But I guess that's important to do for a book. So I'm trying to do it as best I can without being too much with that stuff. Which I don't know. And you will get to be the filmmaker if you want and know everything you need to know to go out there and film and edit your own films when you get done reading this book. I'll reference some of my videos or online courses on filmmaking, editing, and screenwriting, and other helpful how-to videos that you can watch to get you started. And I mentioned those in the last pages of this book, like How to Write a Screenplay by John Birmingham. Those of you who do the research for that to find the video. But this book is really all you need to know to go out there and make your own films. I want to say that my mother was a teacher and my grandmother was a teacher. Also, my father taught at a college, and I have an MFA from a really good film school that enables me to teach at the university level. So you have a university level teacher teaching you how to do filmmaking. Not to mention 20 plus years experience as a filmmaker. So you are learning from, in my opinion, the best teacher and doer of films you may ever get to learn from. And I'm a really good writer who was good at creative writing from high school and all through college. Many people who write books on filmmaking may only be a good teacher. Others may only be a good film producer or filmmaker, and yet others may be good at writing how-to books. I am better than most of them for teaching you how to be a filmmaker in this book because I am really good at doing all of those, so I'm bringing you something special. I feel that what I am teaching you here is literally my best effort at showing you everything I know about filmmaking as much as I can in an easy to understand book. And I really believe I am one of the best to write a book to teach you everything I'll start that again. I feel that what I'm teaching you here is literally my best effort at showing you everything I know about filmmaking as much as I can in an easy to understand book. And I really believe I am one of the best who write a book to teach you everything. Write a book. Okay. And I really believe I'm one of the best to write a book to teach you everything about filmmaking. You want to know what I think? Okay, I'll tell you. I personally think this happens to be the best book you can read to really learn filmmaking. Okay. Then I talk about more what a filmmaker is. I'm Latino. No oddities. Okay. I'm going to drink a bunch of coffee and read a bunch of it. Okay. Where did I do that before? Oh, it's some video. Okay. Oh, I gotta stretch my neck. I forgot to do that. I didn't do it for 25 years because I didn't want to have a saggy neck. And then I figured I can stretch it and it's not going to stretch the skin out. It's not going to stretch out the skin. Probably. It's not. You can stretch your skin. It's not going to make it saggy. It's the physical activity you do. It's the genetics. It's the foods you eat. You're supposed to do a slow and steady stretch for some things. It is pretty good. Wow, this is pretty good. Oh man, sounds like Michael J. Fox. Wow, this is pretty good. Michael J. Fox. Right. Wow, this is pretty good. 58. Hey. Well, I don't know. I don't know what he sounds like. Okay. More about what a filmmaker is. Who else sounds like that? Oh, Rick Moranis. Okay. More about what I used to like that stuff growing up, so I thought it was something and other stuff, and for whatever reason I chose being a filmmaker. It's something good. More about what a filmmaker is. Hi. Whoa. Hi. See if I can make my face bigger. I'd have to do it at an angle. Hi. Leave it. Leave it. I like you. I like you. I think I get the thought that like one of my relatives who lived in a faraway place that was like a tropical climate for not a tropical but like an American place that had a warm climate, not me. And then all of a sudden he moved to like the South. And he thought, gotta talk like this. I like you. Hey. And maybe he talked that way sometimes. I don't know. It's just in my own brain. I'm here out in the woods away from everyone. I don't know if it's true or not. Okay. But I talked to him in real life, and then after I hung out with him, I got the thought maybe he does that sometimes. So I don't know if it's true. Um, but this is, but okay, this is good. More about what a filmmaker is. Now, a filmmaker is kind of the person who does a film all himself or herself. A filmmaker usually knows how to do every job, or is the one doing the entire film, or the one who has all the responsibility to get the film done, both creatively and on budget, to the final wrap day of filming at the final shot of the movie, which is called the martini shot. Now that's a pretty long sentence, but I think it may not be a run-on sentence. Apparently it's not. I'm gonna leave that in there. That's a pretty long sentence to not be a run-on sentence, but I think it's good. A filmmaker may also be the editor. A filmmaker is kind of like an auteur. An auteur is the one who has all creative say on a film. Typically, a director or co-producer himself or herself as his only job title is not really a filmmaker. A filmmaker does the entire whatever it's called. That doesn't make any sense. That'll change. Or eventually whatever is nonsense. Sometimes people have anxiety words about things and they avoid some words, but that changes and then they turn to other things. It doesn't matter. It's like anxiety or stuff that doesn't make any sense anyway. A filmmaker, I don't know. A filmmaker may also be the editor. Wait. Okay. Now a filmmaker is the kind of person. Now a filmmaker is kind of the person who does a film all himself or herself. A filmmaker usually knows how to do every job, or is the one doing the entire film, or the one who has the responsibility to get the film done both creatively and on budget to the final wrap day of filming at the final shot of the movie, which is also called the martini shot. A filmmaker may also be the editor. A filmmaker is kind of like an auteur. An auteur is the one who has all creative say in a film. Typically, a director or co-producer himself or herself as his only job title is not really a filmmaker. A filmmaker does the whole film himself or herself and only hires out other jobs that they have to make sure get done properly and that follow his or her vision as the filmmaker. Again, kind of like the auteur. Most of the time, a filmmaker is responsible for being both the producer and director, and usually also the writer. But sometimes a filmmaker can refer to just a director or just a producer, depending on how much say they have on the film. When they're the director, they may also be a producer, and often also the writer. So that is really a filmmaker, someone who has created the film physically and creatively all himself or herself, or with the help of others on the crew and cast who serve his or her creative vision and answer. I'm not even thinking about what I wasn't even thinking about some of what I'm saying. I was just reading it and not even thinking about it. I should actually go back and think about all of that more, but I think it's good. I already got through page 40 something and all of it looked okay. I thought I fixed all of it and it was all okay. So I'm just going to keep reading again, going through this again. So that is really a filmmaker, someone who has created the film physically and creatively all himself or herself, or with the help of others on the crew and cast to serve his or her creative vision and answer to him or her. All of the responsibility to get the film done right. And I know after a sentence ends and you put a period, there are two spaces after it, but sometimes nowadays they put only one space after it. I don't know why they went back to one space, because when I was in high school they used two spaces at the end of a sentence. All of the responsibility to get the film done right is up to him or her, and I will show you how to do that, or how to collaborate with others. And you usually have to collaborate with others when you make a film. or how to work with others to be a filmmaker. And you usually have to collaborate with others when you make a film. Filmmaking, okay, I changed to all the responsibility to get the film done right is up to him or her. And I will show you how to do that, or how to work with others to be a filmmaker. To do that as a one-person film crew, and I will show you how to do that as a one-person film crew, or how to work with others to be a filmmaker. And you filmmaker. You usually have to collaborate with others when you make a film. Filmmaking is generally a collaborative effort. You, as the main creative producer, may hire all other jobs in the movie, and they all answer to you. But in some instances, which are not often done, a filmmaker may be a one-man crew, or even more than that, a one-man crew who is also the only actor, which is a very rare kind of filmmaker, LOL. I have actually thought of doing films like that, where I film everything all myself and using camera techniques and green screen and different costumes, effects, makeup, and hair. And I really filmed many videos in this way. I would not only be all of the crew as one person, to film, you would not, to make a film in this way, you would not only be all of the crew as one person, but also be playing all the different characters in the film yourself. And you may really make a film in this way. You know, this is really funny. I got an idea about this earlier today, and may really film a classic Hollywood movie. In this way. I don't know. Really is more often a collaborative effort. Filmmaking in this way. I don't know. Filmmaking is really more often a collaborative effort. That's really what a filmmaker is. Usually an auteur, all creatives say on the film, all responsibility on him or her to get the film done right. And all major above the line positions on a film besides actor. That's really what a filmmaker is. Usually an auteur, all creatives say on the film, all responsibility on him or her to get the film done right, and all major above. That's really what a filmmaker is. Usually an auteur, all creatives say in the film, all responsibility on him or her to get the film done right. And all major above the line positions on a film besides actor That's really what a filmmaker is. Usually an auteur, all creatives have to write to somebody. I'm going to text somebody. I have to write somebody. I have to write somebody. I have to write my mom about something. Okay. I might have to write my dad about it too. I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to tell him. He has other important things that he can do. Okay, that's really what a filmmaker is. Usually an auteur. All creatives say on the film. All responsibility on him or her to get the film done right. And all major above-the-line positions on a film. And are his or her creative responsibility. Oh. Okay. That's really what a filmmaker is. That's really what a filmmaker is. Usually an auteur. All creatives say in the film, all responsibility on him or her to get the film done right. All major above-the-line positions on a film, besides actor, are his or her creative responsibility. Now, to get it produced the right way is up to the producer to physically get the business side of it and everything on budget and all that. And I talk about that more. That is the filmmaker, or up to him or her how she wants the film to be. Above the line jobs like writer, director, actor, and producer, main creative jobs on the movie, or high in the heart. Well, see, generally men were directors, generally men were the lead protagonist and stuff like that. Because women had a little bit different role in the Bible, but they're equal, and oftentimes a woman works. And so I don't try to generalize the man as the one doing the work, how it used to be, which I guess wasn't as bad, because that meant a woman never had to work. She got to stay at home, raise kids, didn't have to work. That's pretty amazing. Unless it was supporting the man and what he needed help with at his job. But he was supposed to work and pay for everything. So that's pretty good. But they're equal. They're equal in the Bible. I could talk more about that in this, but I don't want to make it the entire book about God and Jesus. But I start talking a lot about God and Jesus here. I don't know. Maybe I could talk about that. Maybe I could write that into the book. I don't know. All major above-the-line positions on a film besides actor are his or her creative responsibility. That is the filmmaker, or up to him or her how she wants the film to be. Above-the-line jobs like writer, director, actor, and producer, main creative jobs in the movie, or high in the hierarchy like executive producer or producer, who hire the more creative types like the writer, director. Above-the-line jobs are jobs like writer, director, actor, producer. Main creative jobs in the movie are high on the hierarchy. Jobs like creative producer, like executive producer, who hire. Okay. Above-the-line jobs are jobs like writer, director, actor, and producer. Main creative jobs in the movie are high on the hierarchy jobs like executive producer or producer, who hire the more creative types like the writer, directors, and actors. Below the line jobs on a movie set are jobs like assistant director, grit, camera assistant, script supervisor, production assistant, and other jobs. Other jobs we will talk about. As a filmmaker, you may have to do all the crew jobs yourself on literally no budget, or you can hire unpaid crew who want the experience to put on their resume. They are paid in copy and credit. Where did I talk about he or she in this? Okay, I think that may be too much to add to here, but it may not be. He or she. I can write it here. And I will show you how to be a filmmaker as a one-person film crew, or how to work with others to be a filmmaker. All of the responsibility to get the film done right is up to him or her. Now, I want to make something easy to understand. When I say him or her or he or she, when talking about a director, filmmaker, or other movie person doing a movie job, I want you to understand that throughout the history of movie production, well, years that years ago, traditionally, men were usually the only filmmakers, and usually the protagonist or main character in a movie was a man. The Bible says that a man and a woman are the same, equals. However, they have slightly different roles. And in the Bible, it says a woman does not have to work. A man, however, is the one who has to work, and it is not easy. It is supposed to be kind of difficult, and is because of the sin introduced to a man when he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that also caused him and his wife, Adam and Eve, to get old, get sick, age, get hurt, and die, instead of before they ate from the tree, they had eternal life. This is all talked about in the Bible. However, I know it is okay for many women to work. And today many women work, and not only men. Often a woman may not have a choice, and God knows we all sin in different ways, and it's not really sin. May not have a choice, and God does not want her to be married, or when it helps the man who is unable to work for some reason, or to help her husband when his income is not enough on its own. And his income may not be enough on its own. So this is why I try to say he or she or him or her when referring to a filmmaker or other movie person movie job. Person working on a movie in this book or in referring to someone who may be a man or a woman. I guess things are different from how they were in the past, but generally, I don't know. Generally speaking, they were in the past. Okay. I'm going to read through this pretty quick, please. Typically, a director. More about what a filmmaker is. Now, a filmmaker is kind of the person who does a film all himself or herself. A filmmaker usually knows how to do every film job. Now, a filmmaker is kind of the person who does a film all himself or herself. A filmmaker usually knows how to do every job or is the one doing the entire film. Every film job, or is the one doing the entire film, or the one who has all the responsibility to get the film done both creatively and on budget to the final wrap day of filming it, that final shot of the movie, which is called the martini shot. A filmmaker may also be the editor. A filmmaker is kind of an auteur. An auteur is the one who has all creative say on a film. Typically, a director or co-producer himself or herself as his only job title is not really a filmmaker. A filmmaker does the whole film himself or herself and only hires out other jobs that they have to make sure get done properly and that follow his or her vision as a filmmaker. Again, kind of like the auteur. Okay, typically a director or a co-producer himself or herself as his only job title is not really a filmmaker. A filmmaker does the whole film himself or herself and only hires out other jobs that they have to make sure get done properly and that follow his or her vision as the filmmaker. Again, kind of like the auteur. A person with all creative say. Most of the time, a filmmaker is responsible for being both the producer and director and also the writer. But sometimes a filmmaker can refer to just a director or just a producer, depending on how much say they have on the film. When they are the director, they may also be a producer and often also the writer. But sometimes a filmmaker can refer to just a writer or just a producer, depending on how much say they have on the film. When they are the director, they may also be a producer and often also the writer. I just stretched my neck. I can't just sit here for so long with that. I have to stretch my neck. When they are the director, they may also be the producer. But sometimes a filmmaker can refer to just a director or just a producer, depending on how much say they have on the film. When they're the director, they may also be a producer and often also the writer. So that is really a filmmaker, someone who has created the film physically and creatively all himself or herself or with the help of others on the crew and cast who serve his or her creative vision and answer to him or her. All of the responsibility to get the film done right is up to him or her. Now, I want to make something easy to understand. When I say him or her or he or she, when talking about a director, filmmaker, or other movie person doing a movie job, I want you to understand that years ago, traditionally, men were usually the only filmmakers, and usually the protagonist or main character in a movie was a man. The Bible says that a man and woman are the same, equals. However, they have slightly different roles, and in the Bible it says a woman does not have to work. A man, however, is the one who has to work, and it is not easy. It is supposed to be kind of difficult, and is because of the sin introduced to a man when he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That also caused him and his wife, Adam and Eve, to get old, get sick, age, get hurt, and die instead of before they ate the tree. Before they ate the tree, they had eternal life. Instead of before they ate the tree, when they had eternal life. When they had it and didn't have to work. And didn't have to work. That's a problem that mankind has. Having to work. The other stuff is really bad, having to die and all that. But then we have eternal life after it when we're kind to others. When we're kind to others, and don't sin as much. Don't be led into temptation. This is all talked about in the Bible. I'll put and didn't have to work in quotations because it's not as important as the other suffering and stuff. I don't know. But this is all talked about in the Bible. I don't know that much. Maybe it can be okay. Maybe it doesn't have to feel bad. There's some men who don't work. I met this man who raised his kids really well, and his wife made tons of money, and she gave him tons of money, and he didn't have to work, and he decided to be a filmmaker and an actor, and he made a short film. And it's not me. And I had to learn how to do real estate stuff, like how to use power tools and hammers and drills and circular saw and stuff like that, and do tile and cut tile and um, be aware of how to do some things that I hired other people to do in real estate. So that wasn't something I had. That wasn't something I thought would be something I ended up doing unless I was a kid. I thought maybe I'd consider it for a little while when I was a kid, but then I was like, yeah, I'll probably be something cool. And I thought I'd be a filmmaker by the time I was 19. I chose to be a filmmaker. And but I had to do other stuff to pay the bills somehow. It wasn't traditional. It wasn't ever a regular job. I think it was never a regular job. I had a few little regular jobs. It was never really a regular job because I don't know. It's like I wanted to do it my own way or something. I don't know. That's how I functioned. I'd sit in a classroom doing it the regular way. I didn't know what they were talking about. I tried my best to understand. All I could see were these other kids. I thought they were staring at me, and I was doing this the whole time. I could not tell what the teacher was actually saying. I tried my best. I said, okay, this time's gonna be different. I'm gonna listen to the teacher. No matter what, listen. 5 minutes later, a few minutes later, I was looking out the window. And how did I start looking out the window? How did I do it? It didn't work again. It didn't work again. And I had to go to all the school, and I had to teach myself. Unless I was really, really interested in it, and it was something I thought was really cool, which was not very often, like art. I was really good at art. You could tell what they're saying. Really good at some science I could understand. Sometimes some things interested me and I could listen. So I guess I was okay at it. I had like a B average or C average, and by my senior year, I don't know what it was. I wasn't that good at it by my senior year. I think I barely passed high school with a D. By my senior year, I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it anymore. It was too much. I saw the kids looking at me and stuff, and I didn't know, so I just wanted to, I don't know, and so I had to go to all the school after that and really make good grades to get in better school. It was like a way that I could. My parents said, well, you'll have to get a job or go to school, so I just went to school. Wonder how much more of this there is. I'll get up to here when it starts saying how to be a filmmaker. Okay, when they're the director, they may also be a producer and often also the writer. So that is really a filmmaker, someone who has created the film physically and creatively, all himself or herself, with the help of others on the crew and cast who serve his or her creative vision to answer to him or her. All of the responsibility to get the film done right is up to him or her. Now, I want to make something easy to understand. When I say him or her or he or she, when talking about a director, filmmaker, or other movie person doing a job, I want you to understand that years ago, traditionally, men were usually the only filmmakers, and usually the protagonist or main character in a movie was a man. The Bible says that a man and a woman are the same, equals. However, they say they have slightly different roles. And in the Bible, it says a woman does not have to work. A man, however, is the one who has to work, and it is not easy. It is supposed to be kind of difficult, and is because of the sin introduced to a man when he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that also caused him and his wife, Adam and Eve, to get old, get sick, age, get hurt, and die, instead of before they ate from the tree when they had eternal life and didn't have to work. It's supposed to be kind of difficult, and it's because of the sin introduced to man when he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil that also caused him to. Okay, this is all talked about in the Bible. However, I know it is okay for many women to work. Often a woman may not have a choice when God does not want her to be married, or when it helps the man who is unable to work for some reason. or to help her husband when his income may not be enough on its own. This is why I try to say he or she or him or her when referring to a filmmaker or other person working on a movie in this book. Often a woman may not have a choice when God does not want her to be married, or when it helps the man who is unable to work for some reason, or to help her husband when his income may not be enough on its own. This is why I try to say he or she or him or her when referring to a filmmaker or other person working on a movie in this book, or when referring to someone who may be a man or a woman. I guess things are different from how they were in the past. I will show you how to be a filmmaker as a one-person film crew, or how to work with others to be a filmmaker. You usually have to collaborate with others when you make a film. Filmmaking is generally a collaborative effort, as you, as the main creative producer, may hire all other jobs on the movie and they all answer to you. But in some instances, which are not often done, a filmmaker may be a one-man crew, or even more than that, a one-man crew who is also the only actor, which is a very rare kind of filmmaker, LOL. I have actually thought of doing films like that, where I film everything all myself and using camera techniques and green screen and different costumes, effects, makeup, and hair, and I really filmed many videos in this way. To make a film in this way, you would not only be all of the crew as one person, but also be playing all the different characters in the film yourself. And you may really make a film in this way. You know, this is really funny. I got an idea about this earlier today and may really film a classic Hollywood movie in this way. I don't know. Filmmaking really is more often a collaborative effort. That's really what a filmmaker is. Usually an auteur, all creative say in the film, all responsibility on him or her to get the film done right. All major above-the-line positions on a film besides actor are his or her creative responsibility. That is the filmmaker, or up to him or her how he or she wants the film to be. Above the line are jobs. Above the line jobs are jobs like creative, are jobs like writer, director, actor, and producer. Main creative jobs in the movie are high on the hierarchy jobs like executive producer or producer, who hire the more creative types like the writer, director, and actors. Below the line jobs on a movie set are jobs like assistant director, grip, camera assistant, script supervisor, production assistant, and other jobs we will all talk about. As a filmmaker, you may have to do all the crew jobs yourself on literally no budget, or you can hire unpaid crew who want the experience to put on their resume. And I was thinking about this stuff up here. I guess I got that all right. I was going to say one more thing, like maybe I did real films, not just videos, but I'll call them videos that I did when I was doing it all myself as a one-man crew and actor and everything. And I did that sometimes on my films, but I worked with other people. My feature films, it took more effort, like years for one film instead of just a few weeks that I did. Like last year I did these feature-length videos that took a few weeks or so. Anyway, as a filmmaker, you may have to do all the crew jobs yourself, literally no budget you can hire. Okay. But on smaller movies, most of the time, cast and crew are unpaid. If you have the money, you can hire other crew professionals or people who you think can do various jobs, who you get along with and do good work. Below the line jobs in movies are jobs like assistant director, grip, camera assistant, script supervisor, production assistant, and other jobs we will talk about. As a filmmaker, you may have to do all the crew jobs yourself, um, on literally no budget, or you can hire unpaid crew who want the experience to put on their resume. They are paid in copy and credit, meaning they get a copy of the movie and credit in the movie. Often get 3 meals a day on a larger movie, on a larger budget movie, and of course a copy of the movie and credit in the movie. Many interns and production assistants in Los Angeles on bigger movies also get free food. On bigger movies, get free food, and are sometimes given gas money, especially if the commute to the movie filming is too far of a distance. But on smaller movies, most of the time cast and crew are unpaid. If you have the money, you can hire other crew professionals or people you think can do various jobs who you get along with and do good work. I'll leave it that way. In this book, I'll teach you how to produce a film yourself or get to be the filmmaker of a film that is any budget level, from $200 to $200 million. This is how to be a filmmaker. A filmmaker creates a film or a movie. A movie generally refers to a feature-length film, usually 80 to 120 minutes, but a feature film may range anywhere from more than 60 minutes, in some instances on up to a many-hour-long film. A short film is generally a film under 60 minutes long. A film can be any length, either a short film or feature film. A film is generally narrative, but some other genres like documentaries or experimental are sometimes called a film, because it is the same idea of filming with historically what was a film camera and editing the film and then showing it to an audience. A film was historically, until that really changed in the later 2000s to 2010s, filmed on motion picture film and not on video. A video is different, and historically videos in most news and live programming was filmed on video cameras, not film cameras, and video cameras had a different frame rate. Video cameras had a different frame rate, more like 30 frames per second, 29.97 frames per second, as opposed to film, which was traditionally 24 frames per second. Video was filmed on tape. Film was filmed on motion picture stock, tape, or digital. Well, digital. Video was generally filmed on tape. Was filmed on tape. Or sometimes, I don't know how it would be filmed on digital. Video was filmed on tape. It was mostly filmed on tape. I'm pretty sure they didn't have digital back then. That's mostly a newer thing. Film was filmed on motion picture stock, or film that had a negative that was exposed to light and film was filmed on motion picture stock, or film that had a negative that was exposed to light. Film was filmed on motion picture stock, or film that had a negative that was exposed to light and took 24 real small pictures a second. Real real small pictures a second. Real small pictures a second. The aperture on the camera real and small pictures a second. I think that's proper. I'm pretty sure that's proper grammar. You call it one thing, a comma, another thing, and then sometimes an and, a third thing without a comma. And took 24 real small pictures, not real small. real small pictures. Whiskey, real small pictures. Whiskey, yeah, real small. That's real small, man. That's real small. That's small. It's real small. Film was filmed on motion picture stock or filmed. I don't know. Okay, that had a negative that was exposed to the light and took 24 real small pictures a second. The aperture on the camera controls how much light is into the camera. That makes a chemical reaction to the celluloid, what the film is made out of, usually based in gelatin, creating each of the images that appear 24 times a second to create the look of a motion picture. The negative was sent to a lab for processing, and then the film was physically edited by making splices or cuts in the film and being taped together to make each edit, as it is called today. In some instances, some people may have developed the film themselves, but most filmmakers I guess, what is modern cinema? Is that like 100 years? I don't know. In some instances, some people may have developed the film themselves, but most filmmakers in modern times, or in modern most filmmakers in modern cinema sent their films. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Most filmmakers sent their films to be developed in labs when I was learning and when I was producing films. And working on films from the late 90s to films in the early 2000s. In the early 2000s. I am fairly sure photography developing of film was different from film developing for movies. I'm not going to say that. I'm just not going to say that. The editing can be accurate to a single frame or 24th of a second. You can edit. You can. No, it's not. It looks okay. I don't know what I look like. I was trying to cover it up so I could write. When you're editing, you can edit like up to 1/24th of a second. You can edit to one particular frame. Like every frame is doing this or something. Like I know it's funny or whatever, or not funny. It's not funny, wherever it is. It's funny or not funny. But it's like when someone's doing this, like like say if they jumped, you can edit like right at the frame that you want and match it up to another frame, and then have it like have two different shots like from two different cameras. Like you can edit per frame or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. Okay, I guess you get it. I don't know. Shit. Oh man, I'm fucking stoned. Shit, I ate a guppy, wiped it on my skin. Shit. No. Why? Now you're gonna fucking die? Shit, man. See? He's a guppy eating, turn into a shit. I'm probably gonna have to stand up and walk around or something. So put simply, a filmmaker. Is responsible for all aspects of production and is the person who really captures all of those images on a camera. And edits them, maybe adds music or sound or other more complicated things as part of the pre-production, production, and post-production. And when the film is done, he or she shows the final film to an audience. Okay. Thank God I chose to act in films, because I think that helped me to be more healthy. For some reason, I would work on my health instead of just doing all the work that's another thing besides myself. So maybe somehow it kept me in better shape. I don't know, but I don't know, because I had a lot of stress at times too. That really, but different things. I don't know. So put simply, a filmmaker is responsible for all aspects of production and the person who really captures all of his images on a film camera and edits them, maybe adds music or sound or other more complicated things as part of pre-production, production, and post-production. And when the film is done, he or she shows the final film to an audience. Okay, well that's what a filmmaker really is. I want to say, may God be with you as you learn more about how to be a filmmaker. Let's keep learning. Persistence of vision. This is a quick thing. There's a concept called persistence. Why is this so much smaller than... I don't know. Well, that looks a little too big. I don't know what the exact right... Okay. There's a concept called persistence of vision where I see a series of pictures that are put in a row. This is how you see a movie when you're watching it. This is how your eyes work to know that it's a movie when you're seeing things. And when you're seeing what's really there, what's really on a screen, like me talking on the side and this stuff in front of the screen. This is how you see it. It's called persistence of vision. There's a concept called persistence of vision where I see a series of pictures that are put in a row, like in a flip book, or were originally done in vaudeville around the turn of the century, as far back as the later 1800s. Back then you would be able to, I think the 1860s is the very earliest, but it was more rare back then. Maybe the 1840s or something, but it was really the 1880s or so, I think, when they had a lot of them, but maybe the 1860s or 40s or something, and the early 1900s. I don't know, maybe way earlier. I don't know. Back then you would be able to look in a flip book type of device at an event or carnival to watch a movie back then, seeing a series of pictures that were taken one after the other. An event. A bug, man. Bug, man, trying to get my computer and do weird shit to it. I'm trying to. The fuck is he doing, that little bug? The heck? I seen shit here. Drink the phone shit. Drink the phone
shit. No, I know. Take the phone, get high, shit. There's a little bug. There's a little bug. Take the phone, get high. Shit. No, I'm saying it. They're really not supposed to say that. That's really something we're not supposed to say. A curse word. That's pretty bad. I was in a really good quality hotel one time, and everything was okay, but this kind of rednecky guy that I was friends with was on the phone. I said curse words, and they heard me, and it like messed the whole thing up. Could have been really big and amazing and good. See, there's a little bug. It's like a little millipede or something. I don't know what he's looking for. The person who killed his friends. I killed these bugs. I sprayed him with bug spray because I didn't want him there. Can you see that little bug? He was trying to like do weird stuff, and why? I'm sorry. Can you see him? Why did he do that? I killed the other bugs. Okay. Hi. What? Oh. Thank goodness. Wait, it's not. It's good. I need to plug this in. Alright. So that was a little millipede that got angry that killed his millipede friends. I didn't want them all in my house. Okay. So persistence of vision. Persistence of vision is, there's a concept called persistence of vision where our eyes see a series of pictures that are put in a row, like in a flip book, or were originally done in vaudeville around the turn of the century, as far back as the later 1800s. Back then you would be able to look in a flip book type of device at an event, or maybe earlier. As far back as the later 1800s, maybe earlier. Back then you would be able to look in a flip book type of device at an event or carnival to watch a movie back then, seeing a series of pictures that were taken one after the other. And eventually that became movies. Films and videos. Movies, films, and videos. The concept of persistence of vision is our eyes taking all those still images when we see them in a row and are put one after another and played back fast. Put one after another and play back fast. Our eyes assume it is real action like we see in real life with our eyes. Persistence of vision. I don't get why a millipede want to crawl up my ass into my brain. No, come on, that's not real. Oh, man, because he showed it in the Vampires of Zanzibar.
some stupid way that somebody would die that we thought was funny. I don't know. People die in these ways that are like not always pleasant or something, but then their soul goes somewhere else often, and they don't suffer as much usually. Sometimes they suffer for years, and I showed somebody dying in a movie from a vampire killing him or something, but I don't know. Technically, well, he could have been turned into a vampire and then he kept living somehow. So hopefully they didn't kill anyone in the movie, but there are two guys that supposedly went down to hell, and then hopefully Jesus went there and saved them. You know, I can make a sequel where no one actually got killed and show what happened, these good things happened to them, or talk about it in the narration or something. So, but in that movie, the vampires weren't killers. Most all the vampires weren't killers. They ate meat. That was the thing about that movie. I made a vampire movie. It was a godly movie. It was when I found God again. Thank God, and I got to make that movie. I got to take a break from being a real estate agent, and I used the money I saved to make a movie instead, because I couldn't take it anymore. I started being depressed back then. It wasn't what I thought what I'd get in return after being a filmmaker since 1997 when I moved to LA, and it was 2007 or December of 2006, and I was like, I prayed to God to finally make the depression go away, and in a few days it was okay, and then I said to myself, well, I thought, I'm going to quit being a real estate agent. And then I got really happy, and it was after I prayed to God again, so I really found God again. And I said, I'm going to make a movie with the money I have saved. And I had to spend a lot on credit cards too to get it done. And then I was really happy for a long time. Then I didn't get depressed for a really long time. So that's how I made the movie Vampires of Zanzibar. So they eat meat. Most of them eat meat instead of eating humans. That was my type of vampires. I came up with my own vampires for the movie who just ate meat. They lived longer, or maybe not forever, but maybe forever, and they would eat meat or something. So it was just a story, and I can make a sequel to it, but I don't know why, because the first one hasn't gotten big enough yet. First one hasn't got big enough. The first one got really, really big because that wasn't the type of motivation that I had to do that much type of work on a movie for years of work, to have it. Anyway, so persistence of vision is our eyes assume it is real action, like we see in real life with our eyes. When you see the things, hopefully everyone's eyes are okay. Hope to God everyone's eyes are okay. Hope to God everyone's eyes are okay. Hope to God everyone's eyes are okay watching this, because there's like a little millipede on the ground somewhere. It just disappeared somewhere. I don't know where it went, but it's probably not going to crawl on me. I don't care. I can't keep this place that perfect up here. It's not going to be perfect. So, I've kept after it really well, almost a little too much, but it's okay, whatever. And then so persistence of it is up to God's. Sometimes things don't go as we plan. It's up to God's plan. It's up to God's plan for us. Persistence of vision really means the way our eyes literally hold on to that one image we see and keep seeing that same image for a period after it is shown to us, long enough to show the next image, and then the same for the next image. Show us the next image and then the next image. It's how our eyes watch a series of pictures or frames that make up a movie, and our brain makes it look like it is something that happened in real life. That's persistence of vision. How we see like all those little pictures like in a flip book when you flip through, and each one's a little bit different, like when they animate stuff, and it looks like it's really moving because our eye sees that one picture and it holds on to it after it shows it a little bit. It holds on to that image after it shows it a little bit, and long enough to see the second one, and it kind of blends it, makes them blend, and it looks like we're really seeing a movie or stuff happening. things happening. Not things happening. Not drugs. You know, I don't do any drugs. Good things happening. And it's like almost like I can't believe they legalized marijuana because I haven't even done any, or I don't really care to do any, or don't want to. I mean, I'm happy without it. So, but hopefully I don't have to. I don't know, but I might do it. I might try it, marijuana, because it's not like it may or may not be sinful. I don't know if it's sinful or not to do marijuana. I don't know if it's sinful or not. I'd have to do it again after I really found God and Jesus and see, wait a second, did this get me to sin more or not? So if it's legal and it's helping someone's physical health and it's not hurting anyone, unless Danica doesn't want me to do it, like it would make her angry to do it. It's something that she wouldn't like. That's the only way I can rationalize about that. So I don't know what to say. Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, so how to be a filmmaker. That's when I start. This is when the rest of the book is here. It's all these pages. I got up to how to be a filmmaker. Some of this stuff is in it. When I start teaching about how to do screenwriting, this is on page 83 or something. And there's some pictures in it from my movie. Here's an actor release form. Here's a music deal that you sign with a musician. You like their local music or whatever. You get them to sign a deal to use their music in your movie. So you have the rights to it in the movie, just in the movie. Not, you can't sell their CDs or something like that. They keep the rights to that. Their MP3s or whatever. Here's a copy of one of my screenplays. You register it with the WGA, the Writers Guild of America. It costs $20. You can send them a file online, and then no one can steal your work. And you can send it to the copyright office. I think it's pretty cheap, about $20 or $8 or something like that. I don't know. I at least got them registered by WGA. I think I would get most of them also copyrighted. I don't know. I haven't done it for a while. I haven't copyrighted or registered a script in a long time. Here's a copy of a shooting schedule. This is how you actually film the thing. Oh, this is what this is. This isn't my actual. Oh, that was a copy of the shooting draft, but then this is not a script. That was not a script. This is like a shooting schedule. I'll have to look back at that. That says shooting draft. Dude. I have to see what that is. I'll have to read that when I get to that place. Dude. Well, and so, I don't know what to... I mean... So the last page will be this about the author. It'll go on the one page. So it's up to 200 something pages, almost 300. Maybe it'll be more than 300. I don't know, 280. Maybe I'll just go through the whole thing, fix the typos, and make money at it. Make money at it. And help other people with it. Help other people how to be a filmmaker. Okay. And how to find God and Jesus a little bit. Well, I talk about some of that in the book. Okay. Sweet haircut. Look at me, Steve. Okay. That's it. That's it. Bye. I'm going to read the rest of it later. I didn't get through the entire book. It would take a while. I got through however many pages of it. Whew. 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 What am I showing all of it? How to Be a Filmmaker. "17 pages. I got up to 16 or 17 pages, something like that. I saved it. I can email it to somebody, to myself, not anyone else. Besides, I don't have somebody I can like send it to. That I just send it to a few emails or something. Maybe Danica, if anything happened to her or something. These people are on the cover of it. These people are on the cover of it. How to Be a Filmmaker. That's Jimmy. Or Jimmy Johansson. Jimmy. I don't know if I should say his name. And he's a filmmaker. He has good films. You can find his stuff on he and these other people. Well, oh, whoops. I didn't show any of that. Crazy. I was filming myself at the very end of it. Oh, whoops. I didn't. I was high on weed and I didn't do it. I didn't. Because I was more concerned with doing God's work and being kind to people. That's why I got high on weed instead of doing some big goal that I thought was my purpose. No, I don't know. That's up to God to judge who gets into heaven. Somebody who smokes weed and gets high a bunch, are they being kind to other people and doing God's work? Maybe. Some of them might. But in my family, honoring my parents is doing more work and kind of setting big goals and being kind about it. But there's only so much I can do. I may not set as big goals in the future. I may set bigger goals. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going to happen. It's up to God what's in store for. It's up to God what will happen with us. We do our best. We do our best God's work. We try as best as we can. Okay. I hope to God we're all okay. I hope to God we get into heaven. Amen. By being kind to others on earth. That's how we be on earth. We'd live longer if there was less sin. We'd live longer with less sin. The sin is what kills us. So, okay. I hope we're okay. I hope we're strong, healthy, or we feel happy, healthy on earth because we're good and we do God's work no matter how easy or difficult or whatever it is. We keep doing God's work and we're good and kind and I hope to see you all in heaven one day and see you on earth. Really see you on earth. If you're my loved ones, I'd like to see my wife and kids, Danica, Rowan, Ivan, Ayla, if she's still my wife. Me, Danica, Rowan, Ivan, Ayla, wherever we happen to be. You know, if Danica's still my wife, I'd like to still be with her. I think it says in the Bible, I'm still her wife, because it says, let no man separate what God has brought together. Let no man separate what God has brought together. I think that's what it says. So apparently there's no divorce. There's no real divorce. Because a man signed it. Unless God wanted to separate those two people. There are some instances where it's okay, but I don't want to go for those instances. I'm not interested in those instances. I don't like that. God really says divorce is bad. You should try with everything
you're able to do to try to stay married once you find somebody special to be married to, if you do. Some people, some lowercase god, that's false. Those are false gods. Lowercase god, that's false god. Those are false gods, unless they're trying to say the uppercase god, who's the only God, created everything, how everything really is. Okay, I hope we're kind to others. Do God's work in. Well, I'm gonna go. I hope to God we're all okay and we get into heaven. We get into heaven. Could be me with skinny wrist. I don't know. I don't know. Hey man, that's terrible. After all the food he ate, shoot, you want to say skinny wrist and being fat? Sweet, I ain't gonna do it. Man, I used to. And okay, so I don't know. I'm gonna go. Okay, bye. Please, God, be with us on earth and help us to be kind to others. Amen. Okay, bye. I don't know. Okay, bye. You can check out more videos if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I ain't trying to. I was gonna see if I could smack myself really hard, but I think it would hurt my face. Okay, bye. Bye.